The Duke called me old and useless. Then he saw my royal inheritance. Would they still laugh if the useless, old librarian held the one secret that could shatter the Duke's power forever? Would you stay silent or risk everything to reveal the truth? Watch closely, because one ring, one letter, and one hidden vault will change Greyhaven for good. Subscribe for more stories like this. The wine glass hit the floor so hard it burst like a tiny bomb. Red-purple wine splashed across the stone tiles and crept toward Elias Thorne's worn boots. The smell was sharp, like sour berries and old anger. Duke Rowan Vale stood at the front of the great hall, holding a leather ledger between two fingers as if it were dirty. His rings flashed in the torchlight. His smile was thin and mean. "You call this a record?" the Duke shouted. His voice bounced off the high stone walls and the long tables. "This is what you bring me." Scribbles from a shaky hand. Elias stood straight, even though his knees wanted to bend. He kept his hands behind his back the way he always did when he was trying not to show fear. "My lord," Elias said, calm but quiet, "the ledger lists every shipment, every coin, every tax. The entries match the law." "The law." The Duke laughed, and it wasn't a happy sound. "I'm the law in Greyhaven." Nobles sat along the tables, pretending not to stare. Servants stood by the walls, pretending not to listen. But everyone listened anyway. In Greyhaven, the Duke's words were like weather. You could not ignore them. You could only hope they didn't land on you. The Duke slammed the ledger onto the table. "Old and useless," he said, loud and clear, like he wanted the whole castle to remember it. Just like the man who keeps these records. A hush fell. Candle flames trembled in their iron holders. Shadows moved across the huge tapestries, making the stitched people look like they were breathing. Elias felt heat crawl up his neck. For a moment he tasted iron, like he had bitten his tongue. He didn't. He was just holding himself too tight. "I can correct anything that is wrong," Elias said. "If there is a missing page, I can." "There is nothing wrong with the pages," the Duke snapped. He leaned forward, eyes hard. "What's wrong is you. You bring me numbers I don't like. You bring me names I don't care about. You bring me rules for men who are dead." He lifted his hand and pointed at Elias like he was pointing at a stain. "When I look at you," the Duke said, "I see ash. Dead. Gray. Worthless." A few nobles chuckled, not because it was funny, because laughing was safer than staying silent. Near the servants' door, Mira stood with a flour-smudged apron and a tray she had forgotten to carry away. She stared at the Duke like she wanted to throw something at his head. Elias saw her from the corner of his eye and felt a strange pinch in his chest. Not pain, something like gratitude. The Duke flicked his wrist. "Go," he said. "Before I decide the castle doesn't need a librarian at all." Elias bowed. He forced his feet to move. Each step across the great hall sounded too loud, like a drumbeat meant for a funeral. He passed under the biggest tapestry in the room. It showed Greyhaven's history in bright thread. Kings, battles, harvests, and storms. Elias had dusted it 1,000 times. But today something new caught his eye. Near the top, above an old painted crown, was a falcon with wings spread wide. In the falcon's talons was a circle with 3 stars. Elias's breath snagged. His right hand drifted to his pocket without him meaning it to. A small weight pressed against his thigh. The signet ring, wrapped in cloth, hidden for most of his life. The same symbol was carved into it. A laugh burst from the Duke behind him. Cruel, confident, like a man who believed the world belonged to him. Elias walked into the cold hallway. The great hall door shut behind him with a heavy boom. Mira slipped out after him, quick as a mouse. "That was wrong," she hissed. He had no right. Elias kept moving. "The Duke has many rights," he said. "Most of them stolen." Mira blinked at him. "You never talk like that." Elias didn't answer. His mind was spinning too fast. Why had he never noticed the symbol on the tapestry before? Had always been there, waiting? In his small room in the East Tower, Elias locked the door. He listened for footsteps in the hall. Nothing. Just the castle's low groans and far-off wind. He knelt by his bed and pulled out a wooden box with scratches on the lid. His fingers shook as he opened it. Inside lay 2 things. A cloth-wrapped ring, and a letter sealed with red wax. His mother had given them to him when he was 7. Her hands had been cold. Her eyes had been wide and afraid. "Promise me," she had whispered. "Never wear the ring. Never open the letter. Not until you have no other choice." 3 days later, she was dead. Fever, they said. Elias had kept his promise for 53 years. Now he stared at the wax seal, the crowned falcon, the circle, the 3 stars. His throat felt tight. "No other choice," he murmured. Outside his window, wind rattled the glass like fingers tapping. Then, very faintly, he heard something else. A voice in the hallway. "Low, not Mira's. And make sure the old man stays quiet," someone whispered. "The Duke doesn't want trouble." Elias froze, his hand hovering over the letter. Someone was already watching him. Morning came thin and icy. Frost coated the window like white dust. Elias had not slept. He sat at his desk with one candle burning low, the letter hidden in the drawer, as if the wood could protect him. A soft knock touched the door. "It's Mira," came a whisper. Elias opened it just enough to see her face. She slipped inside with a tray of bread and tea. "You missed breakfast," she said, "so I stole this. Don't look at me like that. The cook never counts loaves." Elias tried to smile. It didn't work well. "You shouldn't steal from me. You shouldn't let the Duke crush you," Mira shot back. She set the tray down and leaned closer. "Something happened yesterday. I saw it. When you looked at that tapestry." Elias's chest tightened. "It was nothing." Mira's eyes narrowed. "Lies are loud, Master Thorne. Truth is quiet. You got quiet." Elias turned away, but his hand brushed the desk drawer without thinking. Mira followed his movement. "What's in there?" "Old papers," he said. Mira let out a breath, almost a laugh, but there was no humor in it. "My grandmother worked here when she was young," she said. "She told me stories when the winter nights got long. About the Thornes, the old royal family." Elias's head snapped up. Mira saw his reaction and pressed on. She said King Edward Thorne ruled for 300 years of family kings. Then the Valets rose up. They called it an uprising. They said the Thornes were cruel. But my grandmother always said, always, that the story had holes. Elias's voice came out sharper than he meant. "Your grandmother should have been careful." "She was careful," Mira said, firm. "That's why she whispered. That's why she warned me never to say those names near guards." She paused, then said it slowly, like she was setting a stone in a place. "Thorne is your name." Elias swallowed. "It's a common name. Not in Greyhaven." Mira's face was serious now. She said one child escaped. A boy. Hidden. Raised in plain sight. She never knew where he went. Elias's hands were cold. The room felt smaller. Before he could answer, a hard knock at the door. Not gentle. Not friendly. Elias opened it and found Lady Sabine standing in the hall. She wore a dark blue dress and a cloak pulled tight. Her hair was gray, pinned neatly, but her eyes looked tired and urgent. "Master Thorne," she said, formal, then softer. "Elias, you need to come with me. Now." Mira stepped forward. "Why?" Lady Sabine looked at Mira as if measuring her. "Because secrets that sleep for 40 years wake up hungry," she said. Then she looked back at Elias. "And because the Duke has started asking questions about you." Elias's stomach dropped. "I don't understand." "You will," Lady Sabine said. "Bring what your mother left you." Elias stared at her. "You can't know about." "I know," Lady Sabine cut in. Her voice shook once, like she hated herself for waiting so long. "I have known since you were small." Elias's fingers trembled as he pulled the ring and letter from a box. He slid them into his coat, then followed Lady Sabine through cold hallways and down a quiet stair. Her rooms were tucked away behind a painted door. Inside, she locked it, drew the curtains, and lit a second lamp. "Show me," she said. Elias unwrapped the ring. Silver glinted. The crowned falcon. The circle. The 3 stars. Lady Sabine's breath caught. "It's real," she whispered. "You have it." Mira leaned in, eyes wide. "That symbol, it's on the old tapestry." "Yes," Lady Sabine said, "because it is the royal seal." Elias held up the letter. The red wax was cracked, but unbroken. "That seal," Lady Sabine said, voice thick, "belongs to Queen Catherine." Mira's mouth fell open. The queen was real. She was, Lady Sabine said, and she was kind. "My father served King Edward. He died the night the Valets stormed the castle. Mira frowned. But everyone says it was a rebellion. Like the people rose up. Lady Sabine's eyes hardened. The Valets paid for that story. They handed out bread and blame, and the hungry believed them. Elias stared at the letter like it might bite him. Lady Sabine placed a letter knife on the table. "Open it," she said. Elias's hand hovered. "My mother told me." "Your mother told you to wait until you had no other choice," Lady Sabine said. "Elias, the Duke is tightening his grip. He is burning old records. He is erasing names. He is afraid." "Afraid of what?" Mira asked. Lady Sabine looked straight at Elias. "Afraid of you." Elias's heart hammered. He slid the blade under the wax and broke the seal. The cracks sounded like a bone snapping. Elias unfolded the paper. His eyes moved across careful handwriting. He read aloud, his voice rough. "To whoever protects my son, Elias Edward Thorne." Mira sucked in a breath. "If you're reading this, I am dead. But my son lives." Elias's vision blurred. He blinked hard and kept going. "In the vault beneath the old chapel, there are records that cannot be destroyed. Let them speak when lies have grown too loud." He finished. The room held its breath. Mira whispered, barely able to speak. "You're the heir." Elias swallowed. "I'm a librarian." Lady Sabine's voice was gentle but strong. "You are both." Then, from outside Lady Sabine's door, a floorboard creaked. 3 slow steps, and a man's voice, low and calm, said, "Lady Sabine, open up." "Captain Holt." Lady Sabine didn't open the door. She held up a finger for silence. Elias and Mira stood still. The air felt sharp and thin like it might snap. Captain Holt's voice came again, louder this time. "I know you're in there." Lady Sabine called back, steady. "Captain, I'm unwell." "Come later." A pause. Then Holt said, "The Duke sent me. If you're hiding something, it will go worse for you." Lady Sabine's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice calm. "Go." Footsteps moved away. Mira let out a breath she'd been holding. "He knows," she whispered. "He suspects," Lady Sabine said. "And in Greyhaven, suspicion is enough to get you buried." Elias looked at the ring in his palm. It felt heavier than metal should. "Then we don't have time," he said. That night, clouds covered the moon. The castle yard was quiet except for distant guards and the soft clink of chains on the gate. The old chapel sat at the far edge of the grounds, half swallowed by ivy. No one used it now. The Duke had built a bright new chapel with colored glass and gold trim. He wanted people praying where he could see them. Elias, Mira, and Lady Sabine crossed the yard like shadows. Mira carried a small lamp covered with cloth to keep the light low. Her face was pale, but her hands were steady. "I keep thinking someone will shout," she whispered. Elias's voice was low. "If they do, run. Don't stop." Mira shot him a look. "Don't say things like that." They reached the chapel door. It groaned when Elias pushed it open. Inside smelled like dust and old wood. Broken pews lay like ribs. The altar stone was bare, cracked down the middle. A spider web shivered in the corner when the wind slipped through a hole in the wall. Lady Sabine knelt near the altar and ran her fingers over the floor. "My father showed me once," she murmured. "He told me, one day this will matter." I didn't believe him. Her fingertips found a thin line. She pressed. A stone piece shifted. The floor opened to reveal a narrow staircase into dark. Mira leaned over the opening. "That's creepy. That's history," Elias said, and his voice surprised him. It sounded steady. They went down. The stairs were slick and cold. Water dripped somewhere, slow and steady like a clock. At the bottom stood an iron door, rusted and heavy. In the center was a round dent the size of the ring. Elias swallowed. "So that's why I was told to hide it," he said. "Use it," Lady Sabine whispered. Elias pressed the ring into the dent. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the wall shuddered. Gears inside the stone groaned like an old animal waking up. The iron door pulled inward with a long scream of metal. The vault smelled like dry paper and seal time. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books, scrolls, and small boxes. Dust lay on everything, but nothing looked ruined. It was as if the room had been holding its breath for 40 years. Mira lifted the lamp. Her eyes went huge. "There's so much." Lady Sabine opened a thick book and ran her finger down a page. Royal births, she whispered. Marriages. Oaths. Real history. Elias picked up a scroll and unrolled it carefully. The ink was faded, but the seal at the bottom was clear. King Edward Thorne. Elias stared at the name like it was a ghost. Mira grabbed a thin book with a black cover. This one is labeled Will. She flipped it open, then froze. Elias, it names you. Lady Sabine leaned in. Signed by witnesses, she said, voice tight with emotion. Not 1 or 2. 20. Elias's throat burned. All this time, he whispered. All this time the truth was under our feet. A sound echoed from above. A floor creak. Then another. Mira snapped the lamp lower. Someone's in the chapel. Elias listened. Boots on wood. Slow. Careful. A man's voice called down, sharp and trained. Who's down there? Captain Holt. Lady Sabine's face went pale. He found it. Elias shoved the will and 2 scrolls into his coat. Mira stuffed papers into her apron like she was grabbing bread. Lady Sabine tucked a ledger into her bag. Holt's boots hit the stairs. Come out, he ordered. Now. Lady Sabine pointed to the back of the vault. There's a passage. My father said there was another way. They ran. The passage was narrow and rough, forcing them to go single file. The lamp shook, throwing shadows that jumped like living things. Behind them, Holt's voice echoed. Stop! In the name of the Duke. Then another voice shouted from above. A guard. More than one. They're down here. Elias's lungs burned. The passage climbed. His boots slipped once, and Mira grabbed his coat and held him up. Keep going, she hissed. The tunnel ended at a rotten door hidden behind brush. Elias pushed, and it cracked open. Cold night air slapped his face. They stumbled out beyond the castle wall, near the edge of the forest. A horn blew from the castle yard. One long note. Alarm. Mira's eyes flashed with fear. That means everyone will be looking. Elias looked back at the castle, at its dark windows, at the tall great hall where the Duke sat like a spider in a web. They know, Elias said. And somewhere behind them, in the darkness of the trees, a twig snapped. They were not alone. The forest felt like a giant listening ear. Elias, Mira, and Lady Sabine moved fast but quiet. Leaves crunched underfoot. The wind pushed through bare branches, making them creak like old doors. When they reached Lady Sabine's cottage, the sky was turning gray. She shoved them inside and locked every bolt. The cottage smelled like dried herbs and candle smoke. It felt small, but safe, until Lady Sabine laid the documents on the table. The will, the birth record, the royal seal, proof. Mira stared at the papers like they might change shape. This could break the Duke, she whispered. It will, Lady Sabine said, if we live long enough to show it. Elias rubbed his forehead. He felt tired all the way to his bones. He'll call it fake, he said. He'll call me crazy. Then we show it to someone with power over him, Lady Sabine said. The regional magistrate, Lord Brennan. He can order a trial. Mira's face brightened. So we leave today? Elias opened his mouth, but knocked at the door. 1, 2, 3. Firm. Controlled. Lady Sabine grabbed a small knife from the counter. Mira held the lamp like a weapon. Lady Sabine opened the door, just a crack. Captain Holt stood outside. He was alone. No guard behind him. No Duke's colors on his cloak. Just a tired man with a hard face and eyes that looked like they hadn't slept. I followed you, he said. I'm not here to hurt you. Lady Sabine didn't lower the knife. Then why are you here? Holt's gaze moved to Elias. He stood very still, then slowly went down on one knee. Your Majesty, Holt said. Mira made a small shocked noise. Elias stared. Captain, get up. Holt didn't. My father served King Edward, he said. He died, defending the Thorns. When I took command, I swore an oath to Greyhaven, not to Duke Rowan. He stood, but his face stayed grim. The Duke knows I saw you in the chapel. He ordered me to bring you back. All of you. Mira stepped forward. So you're here to arrest us. Holt shook his head once. If I wanted that, you'd already be in chains. I came to warn you. Lady Sabine's voice went low. Warn us of what? Holt's jaw tightened. The Duke has a list. Names of servants who report to him. He calls them his quiet hands. They watch. They listen. They ruin people. Elias felt sick. The whisper in the hallway, he murmured. That was one of them. Holt nodded. Yes. And after last night, the Duke will do worse than whisper. Mira's fists clenched. Then help us. Holt looked torn, like two ropes were pulling him. I will, he said, but not in the way you want. He leaned closer. If you run to the magistrate alone, the Duke will call you a thief and traitor. He will send riders. He will twist the story before you can speak. Lady Sabine's eyes narrowed. So what do you suggest? Holt's voice was steady. You go back to the castle. Publicly. In front of everyone. You force him to face the truth where he can't hide it. And I stand beside you. Elias's heart pounded. That's suicide. It's the only stage big enough, Holt said. And listen, Lord Brennan is already on his way. He's arriving early for an inspection. The Duke doesn't know yet. Mira's eyes widened. So the magistrate could be there. Holt nodded. If you move now. Outside, hooves thundered. Holt turned to the window. His face hardened. He sent riders after me. More knocks slammed the door. This time loud, angry many hands. Open in the Duke's name, a voice shouted. Lady Sabine whispered, We're trapped. Holt breathed out once. Then we go to the castle under guard, he said, and we speak before the Duke speaks first. They rode back surrounded by armed men. The guards' eyes were sharp. The horses snorted cold air. The castle gates opened like a mouth. In the great hall, Duke Rowan Vale sat high on his seat, smiling like he had been waiting for this moment all night. Nobles packed the room. Servants lined the walls. Everyone wanted to see the old librarian punished. Elias Thorne, the Duke called, sweet as poison. Bring him forward. Guards pushed Elias into the open center of the hall. The stone under his boots felt colder than before. The Duke leaned forward. You broke into a sealed vault, he said. You stole royal property. That is treason. Elias lifted his chin. His fear was still there, but something else stood in front of it now. Something stronger. It isn't treason to reclaim what was stolen, Elias said. The Duke's smile twitched. Elias pulled out the will. He held it high so the nearest nobles could see the seal. These records prove who I am, he said, voice growing louder. And they prove who you are. Whispers rushed through the room like wind. The Duke stood up slowly. Careful, he warned. My name is Elias Edward Thorne, Elias said, son of King Edward and Queen Catherine, rightful heir to Greyhaven. The Duke's face flashed red, then pale. Lies, he hissed. Guards, seize him. Captain Holt stepped forward and placed himself between Elias and the guards. No, Holt said. The hall went still. The Duke stared at him, shocked. Holt, I serve Greyhaven, Holt said, and I serve the truth. For one long second, fear showed in the Duke's eyes. Then rage took its place. He snatched a sword from a guard and raised it. Then I'll silence the truth myself, the Duke roared, charging straight at Elias. Steel rang like thunder. Captain Holt moved so fast it looked like the air itself pushed him. His blade met the Duke's sword in a loud clash. Sparks flashed. The two men stood locked, faces tight with strain. You don't want this, Holt warned through clenched teeth. I want him gone, the Duke snarled. I want his story buried. Holt shoved back, forcing space between them. It won't bury, Holt said. It's too deep. The Duke lunged again, wild with anger. Holt blocked, stepping sideways, keeping the Duke away from Elias. Elias stood frozen for a heartbeat, then forced himself to move. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He lifted the will again. Look, Elias shouted, voice cutting through the noise. Look at the seal. Look at the signatures. This isn't a rumor. It's proof. Lady Sabine stepped forward, holding up the birth record. And this matches the vault register, she called. It was sealed before the uprising, before the Valets took power. The Duke's eyes darted around the hall. He saw faces changing, confusion turning into shock, shock turning into anger. You idiots, the Duke snapped at the crowd. You'll believe a dusty paper over your Duke. Mira pushed through the servants, chin lifted, voice clear. We believed you, she said. And look what that got us. Fear, hunger, silence. The Duke's mouth twisted. Quiet, girl. Quiet. Mira shot back. That's all you ever wanted. Quiet people you can step on. The Duke's grip tightened. His blade shook, not from weakness but from panic. Then, as Holt pressed him back, the Duke shouted, loud enough for all to hear, I killed his father. I ended that line. The great hall went dead silent. Even the candle flames seemed to pause. The Duke froze too, like he had slapped himself. His eyes went wide. Holt lowered his sword slightly. You just confessed, he said, voice cold. A voice from the back of the hall spoke, calm and sharp. Indeed he did. An older man stepped forward in a dark travel cloak, snow dusting his shoulders. His eyes were keen and tired, like someone who had seen too many lies. Lord Brennan, the regional magistrate. Whispers burst again, louder. The magistrate. He's here. Brennan held up a hand, and the hall quieted in fear and respect. He walked closer and took the will from Elias with careful hands. He studied the seal. He traced the signatures. This is authentic, Brennan said. The ink, the paper, the seal, these match royal records kept in the capital. The Duke stumbled back a step. It's forged, he said, but the words sounded weak now. Brennan looked up. His gaze was hard as stone. And your confession? He asked. Was that forged too? The Duke's throat bobbed. His eyes moved from Holt's sword to the guards by the wall. Guards, the Duke barked, arrest them all. Now. For a moment, no one moved. Then one guard took a step toward Elias and went down on one knee. Your Majesty, the guard said. Another guard followed. Then another, like stones falling one by one. Captain Holt stepped to Elias's side and planted his feet. I will not raise a blade for a murderer, he said. The Duke's face twisted, desperate now. You all owe me, he screamed. Lady Sabine's voice was sad but firm. We owed you obedience, she said. Not our souls. The Duke lunged, not with a sword this time, but with his hands, trying to grab Elias like he could crush the truth out of him. Holt shoved him back. Guards seized the Duke's arms. The Duke fought, but his strength wasn't enough against 10 men who had stopped fearing him. Lord Brennan spoke clearly, every word landing like a hammer. Duke Rowan Vale, you're under arrest for murder, unlawful seizure of rule, and abuse of your office. You will stand trial in the capital. The Duke's eyes burned as he stared at Elias. You can't rule, he spat. You're old. You're weak. You're useless. Elias breathed in. He smelled candle smoke and spilled wine in old stone, Greyhaven itself. He looked at the Duke and spoke in a calm voice that somehow carried to every corner of the hall. Maybe I'm old, Elias said, but old doesn't mean empty. I kept your records. I saw your lies. I survived your cruelty. And I'm still standing. The Duke's lips curled. You'll fail. Elias nodded once, honest. I might, he said, but I'll fail trying to heal this place, not trying to own it. For the first time, the Duke looked truly frightened, not of swords, but of being forgotten. The guards dragged him away, shouting fading down the corridor like a storm moving off. Silence returned. Then a single clap echoed. Mira. She clapped again, loud and steady. He told the truth, she said. More claps joined, servants first, then nobles, then even a few who had laughed yesterday. Elias felt dizzy. He didn't feel like a king. He felt like a man who had been holding his breath for 53 years and had finally let it out. Lord Brennan stepped closer. There will be councils, he said. Questions. Hard days. A crown is not a reward. It is work. Elias nodded slowly. I understand, he said. I've been working my whole life. That night, Elias walked to the old chapel, now lit with fresh candles. The ivy still clung to its walls, but it didn't look like a grave anymore. It looked like a door that had finally opened. Mira found him there. You're hiding, she said, but she was smiling. I'm thinking, Elias answered. About what? About what kind of ruler Greyhaven needs, he said. Mira leaned against a broken pew. Not one who throws glasses, she said. Elias let out a quiet laugh. It felt strange, like using a muscle he had forgotten he had. Lady Sabine entered behind them, wrapped in her cloak. The people will test you, she said, and some will hate you just because you are new. Elias looked at the ring in his hand. I'm not new, he said softly. I'm returned. Mira stepped closer. Then return with your eyes open, she said. And don't do it alone. Elias looked at her, then at Lady Sabine, then at the doorway, where Holt stood keeping watch like a wall. He finally understood something simple and strong. A title did not make a person royal. Truth did. Courage did. People did. Elias Edward Thorne placed the ring beside the old letter in the vault, not as a secret anymore, but as a promise. Greyhaven had been asleep under lies for a long time. Now it was waking up, and this time, the truth would not be buried. If you made it this far, tell me, what would you do if you found out you were the true heir, but speaking up could cost you everything? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want more stories with secrets, twists, and big reveals, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.